All right, welcome back. We are on the topic of sellers, listing appointments. You already watched the video and hopefully you're practicing. That's very important on what to say to get your foot in the door. Now you have your foot in the door. Now what? So grab your pen and paper. What we're going to do is we're going to break down the listing appointment into 4 steps. So number your paper 1 through 4, and let's break this down. Now, here's the thing with a listing appointment. The more you go on as an agent, you're going to adapt your own style. If you line up 25 agents, top producing agents, you say, hey, tell me how you do listing appointments, all 25 are going to tell you something different. So this is a best practice to simplify it, and then you're gonna find your own rhythm and your own style because there's not just one way. All right, 4 steps, here they are. Number 1, prepping for the appointment. What do you bring with you? So the first thing is you want to create that CMA, that comparative market analysis, okay? The market dictates the pricing of the house. So what you're doing there is you're going into your system, usually it's Bright MLS, and you're breaking down comparatives based on, that's a whole nother video you will have, you're breaking down comparatives on what are active homes, which will be their competition, what is closed that's most similar to it, to see what range is most likely going to have this house sell in today's market. Okay, so you're getting that together, you're printing it out, putting it in a folder. And then you're gonna put together your presentation. Now, every agent works differently. A presentation could be as simple as one piece of paper that shows them the process. Okay, it could be how you market it and some details on that. Or if you are a presentation type person, you like PowerPoints, it could literally be a, bring your iPad or computer with you and a actual presentation. Okay, that's completely up to you and what your style is. I'm more of a conversationalist. I'm gonna go into an appointment, I'm gonna sit down with you, I'll probably bring a folder, or I will bring a folder, and it's gonna have the CMA, it's gonna have 1 page on how I market homes, 1 page on what to expect with the process, and the exclusive right to sell agreement completely filled in minus the price. That's what's in my packet. That's what I'm bringing with me. That's my comfort zone. I used to do presentations, that's not me. All right, so let's move forward. So that's what you're prepping for. Now you're going to the appointment, show up on time. Okay, first impressions are everything. Show up on time. So you show up for the appointment, you knock on the door, and you're like, hi, my name's Alana. I'm here for our 11 o'clock appointment. I'm excited to help you get to California. Let's get your house on the market. Okay, now they're gonna welcome you in, and this is where you're gonna go and say, hey, I'd love to walk around your house. So this is step 2. So 1 is prepping for the appointment. 2 is you're gonna show up on time and do a walkthrough of their home. And the walkthrough of their home is you're gonna let them know you wanna walk through with the eyes of a buyer. Okay, so I'm gonna say, hey, I'd love to walk through your house just really quickly, just with the eyes of a buyer to take some notes. Okay, they're gonna be like, that sounds great. They will probably walk with you sometimes they won't. So they're gonna walk with you, you're gonna walk through the house. This is not, here's what you're doing. You're not gonna write down anything negative. So if you see shag carpeting, hot pink walls, cracks everywhere, don't write that down because they're watching everything you do and you don't want to start off negative. Okay, just make a mental note of that because that's going to affect the price range. Okay, what you are going to do though is you're going to walk through and you're going to notate, they said 3 bedrooms and I see 3 bedrooms. They said they have hardwood floors and I see hardwood floors. Okay, they said they have upgraded appliances and no, these are not upgraded at all, and this is some Formica countertop. Okay, so these are just things you're making a mental note of because it's going to dictate where it falls in the range for the price, right? If it is fully upgraded, you got all the bells and whistles, hardwood floors, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, fresh paint, you're probably in the higher price range. Where if it is home that I worked with back in the day, bright pink walls in every room, dips in floors, cracks in walls, and doily, what do you call them, shades on the windows that they wanted to leave, we were on the lower price range. There's a little work that needs to be done, right? So the walk through the house is simply to be able to know how to price it properly and make some mental notes. All right, so that's step 2, walk through the home. Now here's a little nugget for you. When walking through the house, the owners are most likely going to ask you questions. Don't answer them. Have a notepad with you and welcome in their question, acknowledge it, write it down, and let them know you're going to discuss that. If the walkthrough is all about answering the questions, it's going to take a lot of the appointment time and you're not going to get to the closing of the appointment, okay? And you're also not their agent yet, so don't give them all the nuggets because then they're just going to go hire someone else. It will happen. It happens to everybody. It happened to me. So the best way to approach that is if they say, hey, what do you think about this room? Should we paint the walls? Do we need to replace the carpeting? Do we need to do work here? You simply say, well, great questions. I love where your thinking is. I'm going to write those down. And as your agent, we're going to walk through all that together. Okay. All right. So you walk through the house, you're writing things down, nothing negative. They're watching. Now that's step 2. Let's move on to step 3. Step 3 is what I call the sit down. Hey, can we go sit down somewhere? Let's talk through the process. Let's talk through pricing. They will direct you to the kitchen table, the living room, the dining room table. They're going to put you somewhere. So you sit down with them, and at that sit down, what you're going to revisit first is their motivation. Build a relationship. People work with those they trust and they like. That's how they hire an agent. So if you're watching this and you're like, I've never had a listing, why would they choose me? It is not about how many homes you sold. It's about the connection. So I'm going to give you a little story right now. The story is about an agent. I'm going to name the agent Jan. So Jan got into real estate, and in her first 4 months in real estate, she landed a $1.2 million for sale by owner. Okay. So number 1 is she built a relationship with that for sale by owner and got her foot in the door. Then she prepped for that appointment, and she actually talked to top producing agents for some assistance. She went to the appointment ready. It took a few appointments because it was a luxury home, but she went so prepared, and she went with the mindset of, this is my listing if I choose to accept it. Fast forward, she landed the listing. Now she was up against, this owner was interviewing the top agent in that area who's been an agent for 22 years. Okay, so she could have gone into the listing going, I'm up against this top producer. I'm not going to get it. She didn't. She went in with the right mindset saying, this is mine. This is my listing. So she goes in, she gets the listing, right? She lands it, goes active. She then asks the seller, 'cause she was curious. She sits down with the seller. They now have a good relationship. And she goes, I have to ask, why did you choose me as opposed to the other agent who's been in the business 22 years? And the seller simply said, I liked you better. We just connected better. That's the truth of it. That is the truth of how sellers choose who they're going to work with. Okay. So go in prepared. And when you sit down at this third step is your sit down at the table. And in that third step, revisit motivation. Hey, before we get started on price and the process, I know you mentioned that you're looking to get to California, you want to be next to family, like who's all out there, right? Talk to me about that. How long have you been thinking about it, right? If you don't know details about, hey, have you started already working with an agent in California? Just build a relationship, get to know them, make a friend, all right? Now, that part of the conversation usually is could be 5 minutes all the way to 15 minutes. This is not an hour. You don't have time for that. This is about 15 minutes max. Now you're going to transition the conversation into talking about getting it on the market. And this is where the nitty gritty comes in. Now you're talking about price. Let's talk some numbers. So the question you're going to ask the person is saying, hey, let me ask you, did you have a price in mind for your home? Now the reason you want to ask this question is twofold. One, everybody has a price in mind. Everybody has thought about it. Even if they're like, no, sit for a minute, they're going to tell you a price. Now, if they come back and they say, yeah, we're thinking somewhere around $300,000. You already have a range in mind because you've done that CMA. And if your range is somewhere around, let's say 300 to 315, you're able to now say to that seller, you were spot on. How'd you come up with that? Perfect. That's exactly what the market is saying. Let's move forward and get your house on the market. Now you can actually skip pulling out the CMA, you don't need it. Move right to the paperwork. A lot of times as agents, we talk too much. We talk our way out of the appointment, okay? Now, let's say they come back and they're like, yeah, you know, I'm thinking like 325, 350. And your highest point based on the market is 300, maybe 315. Now that's where you're going to pull out the CMA and educate them on the market. And this is where you're going to, and we will have a CMA video, this is where you're going to look at them and say, listen, let's talk about the markets. The market is what sells homes, right? Yes, we're going to have professional photography. I'm going to go ahead and use social media and all the marketing tactics needed. And at the end of the day, the market dictates the price. So let's talk about what the market is telling us in today's market. And that's where you pull out the CMA and you say, here's an active home. This is your competition. This is where buyers are most likely going to go if yours is priced higher. Here's what's most similar to your home. Here's what's closed. Here's the pricing that it closed at. Okay, so because of that, I am going to recommend we start listing your home at $314,900. And then depending on the showings, if we're not getting the showings, we're not getting the feedback in about, let's say 14 days right now, we will talk about lowering it in increments of either 5 or 10,000 increments, depending on the market and how high you list it. The market changes all the time. So what you list it for today will most likely change in 30 days from now, and change again, and change again. Okay, so you need to educate these sellers on that fact, right? Let them know that's going to happen. All right, so you come to an agreement on price. Now you take out the listing agreement, okay? So that third step, so number 1, your paper should say prepping for the appointment. Number 2 on your paper should say the walkthrough of the house. Number 3 on your paper is the sit down where you're going to revisit motivation, determine what price we're going to start it at, and now we're ready to move forward to the final step, the listing agreement. Now, there's a lot of best practices. I'm going to share one, and that is you came out with the exclusive right to sell agreement, completely filled in minus the price. You take it out of your folder, you write down the price in that box that you both agreed on, and you have all the little initial and signature spots in there, and they're highlighted, or maybe they're like those little colorful tabs you can buy from Staples or Office Depot, right? So it shows the seller where to initial and sign, makes it way easier. And now you hand it to them, and you hand them a pen. You say, great, let me start working on your behalf, start preparing marketing, let's get some professional photography out there, let's get you to California, let's get your house sold. And you hand them the paperwork. You're not reading it to them. You're not an attorney. You're not allowed. You simply hand it to them. You go through, you do make sure you show them the price you're putting in, confirm you're both on the same page. You also make sure you point out to them what the commission is. Okay, now we're not going to talk about the commission in this video. That's a whole other topic. But as an agent, you put in there what that commission is. You want to make sure you explain to them. You don't want any surprises. Okay, be very transparent, very upfront with them. Now they might negotiate. We're going to have a whole other video on negotiations that will be part of it. Stay tuned for that video. So they might try to negotiate. That's okay. Be ready for that. Okay, and you hand them a pen. They sign. Them signing that exclusive right to sell says, I am now your agent. I can represent you. I can now work on your behalf. I am excited. Let's go ahead and get your home sold. It does not mean it's going on the market tomorrow. Okay, so you can take that exclusive right to sell and now help navigate whatever work needs to be done on the house, whatever walls you want to advise them of painting maybe, and get it on the market when they are ready. Could be 3 days from now, could be a week from now. They might be a hoarder, it might be 5 months from now. But now you know you have a listing that you're gonna be ready to help them with. All right, those are your 4 steps. I hope you wrote them down. Now it is all about practice. Find somebody, have them be a pretend seller, and go practice. Go walk through her home, go practice every one of those steps, and go landing a listing appointment. All right, everybody. Hope you had a great time. See you in the next video.